Hey, I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and you're watching Halloween Year Round.
Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round. I'm joined by my friend Patrick.
How's it going, everyone?
And welcome to our weekly Dead Talk. This week's topic is we are talking about our very favorite horror host of all time, Mr. Joe Bob Briggs, and his show currently on Shudder, The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, and of course his lovely mail girl slash, you know what, Darcy's a co-host at this point, is what I consider.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So today we're going to talk about them, why we love the show, maybe a little bit about what we hope to see in season 4, a little bit about us meeting them. So this is the Last Drive-In special, so to speak. But first, before we get to that, I want to go to a very special someone with horror in the news. Hi, I'm David S. Not Pumpkins, and I'm here to scare the hell out of you. Not really, I'm just here to tell you what the cool news stories are this week in horror, so let's get started. First up, we have Lionsgate is planning both reboots for Leprechaun and the Blair Witch Project, two kind of huge movies, in their day. Blair Witch more so than Leprechaun, but it's kind of cool to see these franchises continue. We here at Halloween Year Round really hope that Darren Lynn Bousman, director of Saws 2 through 4 and Spiral, gets to Leprechaun. He's kind of been campaigning for it for a long time, and we'd all love to see him take it on. Speaking of studios, Warner Brothers is renegotiating the rights to Nightmare on Elm Street, Beetlejuice, and Little Shop of Horrors. Now, this could just mean, for the latter two, distribution rights and whatnot. It could mean reboots. I know there's been talk about a Beetlejuice sequel for a long time. Kind of the big one there is Nightmare on Elm Street. That was a series, famously, New Line Cinema was the house that Freddie built, New Line being a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. And if they're renegotiating it, could it mean more Freddie stuff? Would that even work without Robert Englund? I know he's getting up there in age. I don't know that he could still do the makeup. We all saw how it worked out with Jack Earl Haley. As much as I like him as an actor, audiences just did not take to him as Freddie. So we'll see. If you are a fan of award shows and you think the Oscars are too snobby because they don't nominate horror, then check out the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. They are going to be streaming on Shudder May 15th at 7 p.m. They got a really cool lineup there. It's being hosted once again by David Dastmalchian, who, of course, you know as Polka Dot Man from the Suicide Squad. He's also one of Ant-Man's crew in the Ant-Man movies. And for those paying attention, he was also in the Belko Experiment, as well as the Joker henchman that Harvey Dent first used his coin on in The Dark Knight. In video game news, Godzilla and King Kong are being added to Call of Duty Warzone. Not sure how that's going to work. Will you get to play as them? That'd be awesome. Maybe you're like a soldier on the ground trying to fight them. I don't know, but it sounds really cool. Also in video game news, there's a Ghostbusters VR game coming out. We don't really know much about it, just that they are making one, and it's going to be on MetaQuest 2. In early Christmas news, Hallmark is officially releasing a licensed gremlin ornament to decorate your tree this year. Never Hike Alone 2, that fan-made Jason Voorhees sequel we've been talking about, we are pleased to announce did in fact hit their mark for funding. They hit their goals on their I think it was either Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and that will be happening. And finally, HBO Max is adapting the Dead Boy Detectives by Neil Gaiman into a TV show. It's supposed to be 8 episodes, and we're told it follows a pair of ghostly detectives as they investigate murders related to the supernatural. So very much up our alley. This was a team that originally appeared in Sandman comics, so you can definitely expect us to cover that when it comes out. So that is it for news this week. Back to other Dave and Patrick with this week's topic. Thank you, David S. Not Pumpkins. Those are some very interesting news story. Now for the main event, let's talk about Joe Bob Briggs and first and foremost, what got us into him.
Absolutely. And for me personally, this is a very special Dead Talk in particular, because we're talking about someone whom I never would have known about without my wonderful cousin John Liger, who I affectionately called my Uncle John. And sadly, he passed away last year. And I want to personally dedicate this episode to him. So Uncle John, wherever you are, this episode's for you, buddy.
This one's for John. So John's the one who he made you a Joe Bob fan, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So I remember back in the day, my Uncle John and I would talk about like so many different movies and various movies. As John was, like I said, my second cousin, older guy too. Like he had watched so many movies with my father back in the day. So they would go to the cinema back when they did like double features and that kind of thing.
Those were the days.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I miss those days. Especially the way he described them. It was just a lot of fun. So I remember back especially on like the movie channel, then eventually on TNT with Monster Vision. My Uncle John would love to talk to me about Joe Bob Briggs, and he always got a kick out of him. He loved his like larger than life as a Texas persona. The fact that he was always like, in a trailer park or inside the trailer or outside, just swigging a beer, having a good time and just talking about like all the various horror movies he would cover. Because like at the time, like, there were other various horror hosts, but no one quite like Joe Bob. Like Joe Bob really was passionate about and he still is very passionate about
definitely
horror movies. So it was always cool like just to hear my Uncle John talk about him in the episode. So I would watch like a few of them when I could, and it was just always awesome to see that. And I especially like love the one time when Joe Bob was like really upset that he had to show like the censored version of Evil Dead, and he was like not happy about it, and he wasn't afraid to like let like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be showing you all the good moments. So
he definitely has a personality, and I think that's kind of what made him famous. In that circle to begin with, was he
Absolutely.
is the antithesis of the kind of snobby film critic that
Yes.
you kind of have that stereotype of like, oh, I'm not going to review this trashy horror movie. It's beneath me. And I think for a long time that was the case. Critics very famously have a stigma against horror. It gets no respect at the Oscars, at serious film people don't treat horror with respect. And it's the reason why I've actually lost interest with the Oscars over the years, just watching really great horror get released and they don't touch it. But Joe Bob was the guy, back in the early 80s, he was the guy covering the stuff that nobody else would. Nobody else was reviewing Basket Case.
Right.
Nobody else was reviewing, hell, nobody else was even reviewing Evil Dead when it first came out in 1981.
Oh yeah, that's true. Very true.
So he was a pioneer of it.
Absolutely.
And I feel bad that you kind of had that introduction to him early on. Like around, like how old were you when you were you watching Monster Vision when it was like on live, or were you watching like old reruns of it years later?
A little bit of A and B. Like when it was on TV, I would watch it, but most of the time it was like reruns, and then eventually it kind of, as I fell off the radar, and then I rediscovered it like years later, especially like more recently. I've been rewatching more of that on via YouTube.
Yeah,
And
lot of old, if you're interested in watching the old Monster Vision clips, check him out on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff on there, even just his segments that you can kind of watch in between the movie he's covering.
Absolutely. And I still remember like the day when I was like looking online and I heard about Joe Bob doing like a 24-hour like marathon, which would be like his last hurrah. And I actually I was so excited because like like just like the way my Uncle John introduced me to Joe Bob via Monster Vision, I was able to reintroduce Joe Bob to him, saying, "Hey, there's a new streaming service called Shudder that's gonna have that's gonna have like the Last Drive-In, which is it with Joe Bob Briggs."
They need to pay me every time I point to this.
Yes. Hey, hey, I'd love to see that happen. Absolutely, because yeah, we love Shudder. I mean, it's an awesome. It's one of the top premier.
The best.
Yes. Absolutely. One of the the best horror streaming services out there. I mean, it has Joe Bob in it. That's the main reason I subscribe to it. It's like that and the Creep Show series.
So did you watch that original 24-hour marathon back in 2018?
I did not I did not at the time.
Because I heard it was so popular the freaking servers crashed.
Yeah, I think twice too. Like I remember
so many people were watching.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I remember like in one episode of Last Drive-In, Darcy was saying, yeah, you broke the internet, Joe Bob. It crashed twice, and he's more upset at anything. It's like, I just wanted people to see the show.
But I mean, that's a good reason to break it. If so many people watching, and I love that it was meant to be a last hurrah for him. It was meant to be a goodbye for him, but it spawned a whole new thing. It brought a whole new generation of fans, some of whom, like yourself, were inspired by, their parent or an uncle or a friend or a family member. And it's sort of the passing of the baton to the next generation, embracing him. Now, I stumbled upon him a little bit later. Now, I had Shudder already. Regretfully, I didn't know who he was at that point. I had not heard of him. But I remember seeing like advertisements. I was like, oh, there's this thing called Last Drive-In. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I don't really know what that is. And it was after the birth of my first daughter, Lucy, back in March of 2019. So she would be up, to anyone watching that who has kids, you understand, that first month or two, you don't sleep. She like had her days and nights reversed. So she would like nap all day and then want to be up all night. So I'm up with her late into the night on, sometimes on Friday nights, and I'm just holding her. She's like a month old. I got her little bottle. I'm just trying to get her to go back to sleep. And I'm watching Shudder. I'm like, oh, it's that Last Drive-In. Let me check this out. And I was like, how have I not known of this before? I was blown away by it. It was the coolest thing ever. I watched that first season. I remember watching, what was I think it was The Stuff. It was the first episode that I saw like live when it aired. And I'm just like, this is the coolest thing ever. It was also right around the time I had just launched Halloween Year Round that May. So it kind of coincided around the same time. And a lot of people live tweeted, and I had just started the Twitter account for Halloween Year Round. And that was sort of how that account grew in the beginning, was kind of just live tweeting Last Drive-In, and then, networking and making friends in the horror community. A lot of people that I still talk to today.
That's true. So that,
wonderful. That was my introduction to him. And then ever since then, I cannot tell you the sense of joy I get when that theme song starts playing. Like I feel like a kid on Christmas morning, like, oh, it's starting.
Yeah, me too. I love it as well. I mean, it's just so catchy too. Like, hey, everybody, did you hear the news? Joe Bob is back in town.
It's very Texas, and it's funny because I don't have an ounce of like Southern or Texas or redneck in me at all, but I still find him very appealing for the soul. he's very down to earth.
Yes.
And we'll talk
absolutely.
about this a little bit too. We've both met him.
Yes. Yes, we
And
have.
I can tell you first, I've met him a couple times just at different conventions. And he truly is the most down to earth. Like you go to those conventions and you get a weird mix of like celebrities who, for lack of a better term, I don't want to say has-beens, but it's like they were very popular years ago and now they're doing conventions. And then you also have your up-and-comers who are still doing, these kind of mid-level horror conventions. And my point is they're like celebrities. They're like in celebrity mode. Joe Bob doesn't feel like a celebrity when you talk to him. He feels like just a regular dude who loves movies.
I definitely felt that way too when I first met him at New Jersey HorrorCon. Him and Darcy are just absolutely wonderful people. They're
They
just so
are.
kind. They're so knowledgeable, and they really took the time to talk with you. I mean, that's what I really loved. Like Joe Bob really took the time. Like, when I was sharing my story of, of talking about my Uncle John and
Mhm.
and all that, because I still remember, like when I told my Uncle John, I was so excited, like, hey, Joe Bob's coming back on Shudder, and he was just so happy to hear that, and I sent him like YouTube clips and promos, as well as also when James Rolfe interviewed him too on Cinemassacre.
I remember that. I've seen
Yeah,
that interview.
yeah, it's just really excellent, and just my Uncle John, like just lit up too, and he always just, like I said, always made me like smile as well. Just he always had that kind of wonderful infectious laughter, and just it was just so cool to be able to share that, and to be able to share my story of how I met, like learned about Joe Bob, through my Uncle John, was just, it was really heartwarming, and I'm not gonna lie, I really did tear up near the end, and
Yeah.
yeah,
He loves his fans.
yes, absolutely,
He respects them. He
yes, yes,
not
absolutely.
everyone does, and I have to give him a lot of credit.
Same here. And I wish more, hosts and more, celebrities were like that, because like it means a lot to people, because like,
It does.
it's always like your very first, like introduction into like the world of cinema or the world of horror or the world of, whatever hobby, that you love. And for me, like you can clearly tell I love movies.
Yeah.
I love watching them.
I
I mean, there's no doubt about that. And
I
I
have to
love,
talk.
and
I have to talk a little bit about so I think it was the first time I met him was at Monster Mania in Maryland last year.
okay.
And we were there on the Saturday. So it was the end of the day. We didn't even know if we were going to get a chance to meet him. The line was so long and they were giving people tickets like, only the first, so many people are going to be guaranteed a spot because like the autograph room closes in an hour and the line's already this long. I was one of the last people to get to meet him there on that day before they shut down that room.
Oh, wow.
And you could tell it was, so he had already been going all night Friday night and all day Saturday. It's like, 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And you could tell like he was exhausted. I could tell he was exhausted. I could see it in his eyes, but he still had that same level of energy. Like when I came over, he still had that energy. He still had like, I could tell the dude was exhausted. And it was like he still did that for the fans. Even the people who went to the drive-in event he had last summer in central Pennsylvania after the Mahoning drive-through or drive-in.
Yeah, I think it's the Mahoney as a drive-in. I believe
Mm-hmm.
that is correct. I know it began with an M, and yeah, I think it is
They
Mahoney.
Joe Bob and Darcy were like signing autographs till like 4 a.m.
Wow.
I heard. I wanted to go to that. But literally, my second daughter, Lily, was being born like that weekend. So we were kind of preoccupied. But I remember I tweeted like, hey, that event, it's the same weekend, that our due date is. I guess we can't go. And Darcy actually replied on Twitter and she's like, we can set up a medical tent. We could set up a delivery room to try it. And I'm like, what a great way to come into the world. my fiance said no. We went to the hospital and had the baby in a proper delivery room with doctors and nurses and medical professionals. And that was for the best.
Yeah. I mean, it's still wonderful that Darcy offered that, but yeah, I think I think the more traditional way is probably the best way in this case.
It was definitely safer. Yeah. I would have done it. I'd have done it. I'm crazy. I'd have done it. So, it's cool to see that level of interaction, and it makes it cooler after like meeting him and knowing he's genuinely that guy to then go back and watch the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, if anything, like I've been watching more Joe Bob Briggs, in 2022, as a result of, meeting him and just getting a chance to. I mean, I watched a few more episodes beforehand, but now I'm really more invested. I want to definitely continue to watch more, and I'm really looking forward to the 100th episode on the 29th of April.
I know.
It's going to be awesome. I mean,
I cannot. I mean, that's why we're doing this special right now. When this. If you guys are watching this, season 4 debuts this coming Friday night, April the 29th. Definitely check it out on Shudder. It's the 100th movie they're showing. We don't know what it is. We were told it is a very special movie with a very special everything. My guess was, I keep saying that they've got to do Nosferatu. And the reason I say that is Darcy did a poll on Twitter like a few months ago asking if people would be okay showing a silent movie like Nosferatu. Nosferatu celebrated its 100th anniversary this year. So I'm just saying, put 2 and 2 together, Nosferatu. As far as, some of the, I mean, he's come, I love the wide variety of stuff he shows. You'll remember at New Jersey Horror Con, I asked him, and it's funny because it plays out like on the show. I asked him, how do they decide what movies to show? And got like a 20-minute long rant of an answer. Yeah. And then even Darcy was like, oh my God, all this guy asked you was, how do you pick the movie? And it's just in that moment, I felt like I was watching them on the show. Because like, this is exactly what, like, yes, that's exactly. Just them.
Right. I know. I love that. And
like, it's awesome. Not an act. They're being themselves. And I love that.
Same here. I mean, like Joe Bob is just literally a walking encyclopedia of movie knowledge. Like I was genuinely, I knew he was very smart, especially like from what, I remember just watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and just every like aspect of that film he knew from beginning to end, to the point where I felt like I was watching like a documentary on the making of it.
I mean,
like, that's how impressed I was. It was just his breadth of knowledge was incredible.
He essentially, he did an article way back when, I think it was in the 80s, about that movie, and I think that's what got him on the movie channel originally as like a guest host. Yeah, he is. Right. I would consider him if we're talking like the world of academia, he is like the leading PhD on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like he's the one who wrote the dissertation on it and knows it better than anybody else.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So, what are some of your favorite? I guess I consider this 2 categories. So, what would you say are some of your favorite movies that he's shown, if we're just talking the movies? And then what are your favorite episodes, counting like the stuff with him and Darcy?
Okay.
Because those are 2 different categories.
Yeah. Okay. I guess in terms of like movies that he's shown that I've never would have considered seeing otherwise. For example, more recently I watched Maniac Cop 1 and 2. They were incredible, like action slashers. I never would have thought like those genres could go together so well, but there you go. It was just, I was really drawn into like, the world that was being built, like, a gritty, like, New York City, and like what was going on. It was just incredible. And then of course, like having like Bruce Campbell and Bill Lustig, like, both talking about like the films.
That was really cool to see.
That was a great double feature. I love that. That was
I love it when the double feature works out like that, where like it's one, then it's the sequel, and it feels like a continuation.
right.
Great movie. I love the superhuman jawline that is Robert Zarr as the titular
Yes.
maniac cop.
Yes.
But I love that it's a movie that has the guts, and sorry for the spoilers, but it's an old movie. It has the guts to basically have Tom Atkins as your main character and then kill him off and then switch main characters.
Yeah, very much like Psycho.
Not many, like Hitchcock had the guts to do that. Not many other movies do.
Yeah, it's true. Very true on that.
And then are there any like episodes that stand, or like a favorite rant he did, or like a favorite segment that he and Darcy did?
Let's see. Well, there's a few of them in particular. What is it? One of my personal favorites, and I still need to watch the full episode of it, but I saw it as a clip on YouTube. One of my personal favorites was when he talked. It was the Keep Rolling segment, in which he talked about independent filmmakers and basically saying to them, "Look, you have the tools. The barrier of entry of making your movie has been lowered to the point where you just got to go and do the work. You got to get out there and make it work. Even if you only have like 10 minutes a day to do your pre-planning, do it. Just do it." And I was just inspired. Like
that's why we make this show.
Yes.
That's why we do stuff. And maybe one day, I'm not saying this happened tomorrow, but I would love to eventually maybe even start doing like maybe some horror short films, like, scripted content for the channel. Like just little like 5-minute scary videos, stuff like that. We'll see. Stay tuned.
I love the idea. I love that ambition.
That's that he inspires you. His rants are certainly. For me, I know he hates this movie because I talked to him about it. I really like Tetsuo. It's such a weird. I love that I can watch that and be like, "What the hell is this?" But it's a movie that I never would have heard of otherwise. Like I love a good slasher. I love a good like paranormal thriller. Demons and exorcism. That's kind of like my favorite subgenre of horror. But I also just love a movie that makes me question my own sanity and just say like, what the. And the fact that it's called Tetsuo the Iron Man, I told them that it's. I want to play a prank on someone, be like, "Hey, want to watch Iron Man?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I love Robert Downey Jr. and Marvel," and then put on Tetsuo. And then, if we're talking favorite like segments or like episodes of the show itself, it's got to be Darcy taking over for Hogzilla, and Joe Bob just being like, "No, you did not show." She did.
That was a great episode. I know Joe Bob hates Hogzilla, but Darcy just going like literally whole hog on it was just awesome.
The fact that she got it like restored to show and got it finished.
Right.
That's dedication that I respect the hell out of.
Indeed. Yeah, like I said, I especially love like Bill Lustig, like, talking about Maniac Cop 2, like just really informative. But I think like my favorite moment was from Evil Speak, like talking with Clint Howard. And at the very end, that song dedicated to him, like that, I was like literally brought to tears. It was like such a beautiful tribute because you know what? Clint Howard does not get enough respect for being like, one of the best character actors in Hollywood today. I really mean that too. Like I really was weird after seeing that and realizing, wow, like Clint Howard has had such a long career of like really like changing himself, like like for the various roles he's done. Like Quark in Star Trek, for example, like
he's had a great range.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's because character actors kind of always have it. It's like they're so good at their craft that you don't notice them because they just kind of immerse themselves, in what they're doing. And it's like that's why they call them character. Like you know
Right.
them as the character first, but that's the sign that they're really good at it.
Absolutely. And yeah, like I said, just learning about all that and learning about and just how humble Clint Howard is as an actor and just all of that. And you can just tell like how much they love and respect him. And like I said, the fact that Darcy, like helping to arrange that song tribute for him, and like even like like making him a patron saint on the last drive-in was, like I said, like it just brought tears to my eyes. It was like such a beautiful, loving tribute to him, and it was just wonderful. And I know, like Darcy has said that like Clint Howard was a bit mad afterwards, but Clint Howard, if you're watching this episode, like out of like like by any means, like just I'm gonna say this right now. That was honestly one of the most beautiful tributes out there. It brought me to tears, and I have to say, like please be sure to thank Joe Bob and Darcy again because they really do love and respect you, dude.
It was all done out of love, and Darcy's a huge Clinton Howard fan,
Yes, she
so
is.
I hope to see him back on there.
I hope
It
so
was
too.
because of her love for Ice Cream Man that I'd never seen it before.
Oh yeah, really?
I had never seen that movie, but that's a good one. So as we look towards season 4, it is starting this week. Are there any like movies, or I always have like a wish list in my head, and it's usually stuff like on Shudder, like, oh, that would be cool on Last Drive, that would be cool on Last Drive. So are there any movies that you think would be really cool to see them cover, or like any actors, directors, or anyone that you would love to see him like have on as a guest?
Actually, I do have one in mind. Especially with him coming off of Stranger Things, is a season 4. This is definitely a big wish list one, but I'd love to see Robert Englund and
That
Joe
would be
Bob
amazing.
talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street. That would be my dream right there, just to see both of them like on the show talking about it, and it would just be incredible because that's like, I mean, like I love Halloween, like John Carpenter's Halloween. That's one of my personal favorites, but and eventually I'll be watching Friday the 13th. But if there was one other like big horror series that I watched back in the day that I just love, it's A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'd love to see the first one getting.
It's so imaginative,
Yes.
and no other franchise really, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees. Yes, there's a lot that goes into the physicality of the performance. Yes, Kane Hodder is the best Jason just because of those little mannerisms he does, but essentially they don't speak a word. Freddy is such a, Robert Englund puts so much of himself and his own theatrical performance into that character. It's the reason why that remake failed so hard, because he just is Freddy. No one else is.
Absolutely.
It's so much harder. You can always get another person to put on the mask, but you can't get another Robert Englund. So
that's true.
I'd love to see that. I don't know that they would. I mean, they've gotten the rights to stuff before, even if it was only for like a month.
Yeah, that's true.
I would love to see that too. Personal favorite of mine. I'd love to see Rob Zombie.
Okay.
I'd love to see Joe Bob interview him while showing one of his movies. Be it House of a Thousand Corpses or Devil's Rejects, 3 from Hell. You could even do, 2 of those 3 as your double feature, or even something like 31. Just, I feel like Joe Bob comes from that world of, those exploitation films of the 70s and the 80s. That's kind of what got him into reviewing movies at the drive-in. And Rob Zombie kind of embodies that. Like his movies are, they're gross, disgusting, and not for everyone, but neither was the exploitation movies at the drive-in or the grindhouse. So I think him on there is kind of the perfect matchup. So that's my wish list. I'd love to see Rob Zombie on there. I think he and Joe Bob would have a very interesting conversation.
Absolutely. And you know what? That would be cool too. Because like I said, I'm a bit mixed on Rob Zombie myself.
He's not for everyone. He's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah. And like, I think like when he does like more original work, like he does like very well. Like I said, I haven't kept this on a secret. I'm not a fan of his remakes of Halloween, but like I said, I'm just not a fan of
Patrick,
remakes in
that is
general.
in no way a secret on a lot of people don't like his remakes of Halloween.
Yeah.
I find myself in the minority defending those movies on
Gotcha.
the internet.
Now, like, and you know what? Like, I am open to the Munsters in this case because, like, from what I've been reading, like, like he definitely loved the series back when he was a kid, and and from what I'm seeing so far, like, yeah, I think it's going to be a good fun time, and I am willing to give that one a chance, like,
Yeah,
more so than
I would
say
love to see that. Even cover it on this show.
yes.
So we will see.
Mhm.
We'll see what Friday brings. Before we leave, though, we do have one more thing to do today, and that is, of course, Patrick's movies from the Crypt.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Oh yes. I'm looking forward to watching that one. And let's see. Oh yes, these are good too. Is it too? And uh hello. How is it? How you doing out there? It's your pal. Is it pal Patrick, the movie keeper, welcoming you all to Movies from the Crypt. As you can see, I am just going through some of my newest acquisitions from the Roger Corman sale over at Scream Factory. Some wonderful tasty treats here: Galaxy of Terror, The Wasp Woman, and of course can't think of The Wasp Woman without the Wasp concert that was shown in the Dungeon Master. Mestima, you fool! No one can withstand rock so awesome. But you know what what is just as awesome? Some of the tasty, wonderful, delicious physical media digs that I've been uncovering from the graveyard, thanks to my skeletal interns. So thank you guys. So first up, we got Tombs of the Blind Dead from Synapse Films, which is now available on their website. So definitely give them a shout out there. And next, the Aztec Mummy Collection from VCI, coming on July 9th of this year, which will feature the Curse of the Aztec Mummy, the robot versus the Aztec Mummy, and Wrestling Women versus the Aztec Mummy. I believe one of them was actually covered in Mystery Science Theater 3000, if I'm correct. I think one of the earlier ones. Yes, the Aztec Mummy, that's the one. Gotta flex my movie muscle there. We also have some very awesome releases from KL Studio Classics. We got some great creature features from the 70s. So I'm very excited to be able to share with you some of these. So up first, Tarantulas, The Deadly Cargo from 1977, coming out on July 5th of this year. It is a brand new 2K master with new audio commentary and newly commissioned artwork by Vince Evans. So very cool to check out. We also have Ants, another creature feature classic. Also being released by KL Studio Classics, also from 1977. Yeah, a lot of 77 as a horror features. Very cool. And we got this one with a 2K transfer and actor audio commentary. So for those who love creature feature classics, Ants will be on its way in July. We also have Terror Out of the Sky, a killer bee movie, or as my good friend Joe Bloof would say, bees. But these bees are coming at you and remastered 2K with new audio commentary by film historian David Del Lavelle and filmmaker Dave Caruda. So or Coudier. But I have to say, looking forward to that as well. So definitely like an awesome set of creature features from KL Studio Classics. So thank you guys so much. We also have Invaders from Mars from 1953 from Ignite. Currently, the pre-order is available now on their website, and only 1,000 copies are going to be available. So, yeah, if you are a fan of as a sci-fi, as a monster movie classics, as a From Mars, definitely jump on that one before it blasts off. We also have an update from Scream Factory, and this is one that I've been covering earlier, especially with Dog Soldiers getting delayed. Well, apparently it's more than Dog Soldiers that's going to get delayed. It's also Cat People and Funhouse. But luckily, though, there is an actual timeline of when they'll all be introduced. All 4K discs of this will be coming out in July now. Specific date is still to be announced. So I gotta once again get my skeleton intern to dig up that one further, because no bones about it. I'm definitely looking forward to checking all three of those out. We also have a 2021 film coming out on Blu-ray on June 14th. We Need to Do Something. Should we do something? But yeah, we should do something. Maybe we should watch it. But it's always cool. Also from Shout Factory from 1990, Watchers 2, which will be available on April the 26th. However, though, it is only a limited run of 1,500 copies. So if you're a fan of the Watchers films, definitely give that one a peek. Also, for those who are excited for the new Doctor Strange film in the Multiverse of Madness. Well, if you were curious what Marvel's idea of a film was back in 1978 of Doctor Strange, well, I have your answer for that one. From Shout Factory, Doctor Strange from 1978. That film will be available coming in, let's see, I believe it's July, if I'm correct, or is it June? Yeah, yes, I believe it is July specifically. But it's always cool to see like that kind of stuff, including I know, for example, Mystery Science Theater 3000 will be riffing on Dr. Mordrid, which was originally going to be the very first Doctor Strange film from Marvel, but due to weird licensing issues, it was dropped and then completely reworked, and then having Jeffrey Combs in it. So that should be a fun one to watch. But for those who were curious about the made-for-television movie of Doctor Strange, well, Shout Factory's got you back there. We also have a fun double feature with Hotel Fear from 1978 and Strangler versus Strangler from 1984 from Mondo Macabre USA. Both is available now on their website. So it's always cool to see more macabre and horror coming out from various distributors. So thank you guys and gals for that. And that's it for me. So I want to thank you all, you lovely horror hounds and media monsters out there, and I'll see you next time.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Sounds like one hell of a lineup. And may physical media live on forever. So that about does it for this week's show. But before we go, I just wanted to again thank Joe, Bob, and Darcy for 99 great movies shown thus far, not counting all the stuff that was on his shows before that. Can't wait for the 100th one. Go watch it. Watch it live Friday night, April 29th on Shudder. If you don't watch it live, it's usually available, I think, on Monday after that.
Yep.
So definitely watch that.
I will.
And I think once again, I want to thank and dedicate this episode to your Uncle John, because he's the reason you're here right now talking to me about all these horror movies.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I just want to thank you very much for that, Dave. And also, like I said, Uncle John, I know you're up there in heaven, and I know you're looking forward to watching the 100th episode along with me. So I know in spirit you'll be there with all of us as we watch the 100th episode together of Joe Bob, Darcy, and all the wonderful people. I can't wait to see like who's going to be on on that
Me neither.
episode. It's going to be really, really awesome. So, you know, thank you very much, Uncle John, for introducing me to Joe Bob Briggs. And thank you, Dave, for this incredible show that you do every single week. And I'm honored to be a part of this, every time. And I want to thank you so much, my friend.
I'm glad to have you, and I'm sure our
Thank you.
viewers are too.
Yep.
So while we're thanking people, thank you everyone who watched this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may be trapped in a crypt without getting to watch any movies. And that doesn't sound like fun now, does it?
Yeah, or you may wind up at the last drive-in, but the drive-in has been old, dilapidated, and the only movie that's available is what would be like considered like the worst movie on your list?
The Emoji Movie.
Yeah, there you go.
The only
There
movie
you go.
playing is the
It's
Emoji, movie. Yeah.
Now that is
So,
a fate far worse than death.
like, share, and subscribe.
That's right.
And once again, thank you for coming to our weekly Dead Talk. I am Dave. Thanks for watching. Every day is Halloween.
And this is your pal Patrick. Thank you all so much for coming to our channel. And be sure to continue to watch horror films and keep America strong.